So our goal is to develop back-end applications with Node. And therefore, it's probably a good idea to get a basic understanding of how the web actually works behind the scenes, right? And this is going to be a really full-packed lecture. And so let's dive right in. Now, in order to get a better understanding of how the web actually works, let's start by asking the question, what does actually happen each time that we type a URL into our browser in order to open up a new web page, or each time that we request data from some API, which is actually quite the same. And so let's just focus on a simple website example here, okay? Well, the most simple answer is that our browser, which is also called a client, sends a request to the server where the web page is hosted. And the server will then send back a response, which is going to contain the web page that we just requested. And this process is called the request-response model, or also the client-server architecture. And everything that we're going to talk about in this section revolves around this fundamental concept. Okay, but let's now take this one step further, because this is probably not really new for you at this point, right? So let's say that we want to access Google Maps by writing google.com/maps into our browser as the URL. And every URL gets an HTTP or HTTPS, which is for the protocol that will be used on the connection. And we're going to talk about this a bit later in this video. Then we have the domain name here, which is google.com in this case. And also after a slash, the so-called resource that we want to access. And in this case, /maps. Now, what you need to know here is that the domain name, like google.com, is not actually the real address of the server that we are trying to access, but just a nice name that is easy for us to memorize. So we need a way of kind of converting the domain name to the real address of the server. And that happens through a DNS. So DNS stands for Domain Name Server, which are special servers that are basically like the phone books of the internet. So the first step that happens when we open up a website is that the browser makes a request to a DNS, and this special server will then simply match the web address that we type into the browser to the server's real IP address. Alright? And actually, this happens through your Internet Service Provider, or ISP, but the complete details don't really matter for us. Okay? What you need to retain from this part is that the domain is not the real address, and that a DNS will convert it to that real IP address, which a browser can then call after it being sent back to our browser. So this is how the real address looks like. So it still has the protocol, but then comes the IP address, and also the port that we access on the server. And the port number is really just to identify a specific service running on a server, and so you can think of it like a sub-address. Okay? Remember how we listened to port 8000 on our web server when we set it up in the intro section? That is exactly what this port is. Okay? Also, please note that the port number has nothing to do with the Google Maps resource that we want to access. That resource will actually be sent over in the HTTP request, as we will see in a moment. Okay, and this wraps up the first step. So once we have the real web address, a TCP socket connection is established between the browser and the server, which are now finally connected. And this connection is typically kept alive for the entire time it takes to transfer all the files of the website. Now, what are TCP and IP? Well, TCP is the Transmission Control Protocol and IP is the Internet Protocol. And together, they are communication protocols that define exactly how data travels across the web. So they are basically the Internet's fundamental control system, because, again, they are the ones who set the rules about how data moves on the Internet. And don't worry, we'll learn a bit more about TCP/IP a bit later in this video, okay? Anyway, now it's time to finally make our request. And the request that we make is an HTTP request, where HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So after TCP/IP, HTTP is yet another communication protocol. And by the way, a communication protocol is simply a system of rules that allows two or more parties to communicate. And in the case of HTTP, it's just a protocol that allows clients and web servers to communicate by sending request and response messages from client to server and back. Okay? Now, a request message will look something like this. So the beginning of the message is the most important part, called the start line, which contains the HTTP method that's used in the request, then the request target, and the HTTP version. So about HTTP methods, there are many available, but the most important ones are GET for simply requesting data, POST for sending data, and PUT and PATCH to basically modify data. So you see, an HTTP request to the server is not only for getting data, but we can also send data. Alright? Now, please don't worry if all this sounds a bit too much for you at this point. We will of course use this stuff throughout the rest of the course, which is actually the whole reason why I'm telling you this, right? Anyway, about the request target, this is where the server is told that we want to access the maps resource in this example. Remember that? So we had /maps in our URL, and now it's sent as the target in the HTTP request, so that the server can then figure out what to do with it. And if this is empty, so if it was just a slash basically, then we would be accessing the website's root, which would be just google.com in this example. Then, the next part of the request are the request headers, which is just some information that we sent about the request itself. And there are tons of different headers available, like what browser is used to make the request, at what time, the user's language, and many others. Finally, in the case we're sending data to the server, there will also be a request body containing that data, for example, coming from an HTML form. Okay? So that is the HTTP request. Now, of course, it's not us developers who manually write these requests, but it's still extremely important that you understand what an HTTP request and also a response look like, because you will be working with them a ton. Okay? Also, I want to mention that there is also HTTPS, as you probably know. And the main difference between HTTP and HTTPS is that HTTPS is encrypted using TLS or SSL, which are yet some more protocols, but I'm not going to bore you with these. But besides this additional encryption, the logic between HTTP requests and responses still applies to HTTPS. Alright, so our request now hits the server, which will be working on it until it has our website ready to send back. And it will send it back using, as you can guess, an HTTP response. And the HTTP response message actually looks quite similar to the request. So also with a start line, headers, and a body. The start line has, besides the HTTP version, a status code and a message. So basically to let the client know whether the request has been successful or not. This 200, for example, means OK, and the one that everyone knows is status code 404, which means not found. And so this is where this 404 code that you already knew comes from. Okay? Then the response headers are information about the response itself. So just like before, and there are a ton available, and we can also actually make up our own headers. Now what's different about response headers is that it's actually the backend developer like you who specifies them and sends them back in the response. Alright? Finally, the last part of the response is again the body, which is actually present in most responses. And it's also the developer who specifically sends back the body in the response. And we actually already did this back in the intro section using response.end. Remember? And the body should usually contain the HTML of the website we requested, or for example JSON data coming back from an API, or something like that. So we talked in great detail about the most important parts here, which are the HTTP request and the response. But in our imaginary example, we only just did one request to google.com and got one response, right? However, if it's a website that we're trying to access, there will be many more requests and responses. And that is because when we do the first request, all we get back is just the initial HTML file. That file will then get scanned for all the assets that it needs to build the entire website, like JavaScripts, CSS files, image files, or other assets. And for each of these different files, the browser will then make a new HTTP request to the server. So basically, this entire back and forth between client and server that I just explained happens for every single file that is included in the website. There can, however, be multiple requests and responses happening at the same time, but the amount is actually limited because otherwise the connection would start to slow down. Okay, and then finally, when all the files have arrived, the website is rendered in the browser according to the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript specifications that you might already know. And now, as the final piece of this puzzle, let's again talk about TCP/IP and figure out how this request and response data is actually sent across the web. Okay? So we said before that TCP and IP are the communication protocols that define how data travels across the web. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail here, but here is what you need to know. First, the job of TCP is to break up the requests and responses into thousands of small chunks called packets before they are sent. Then, once they get to their destination, it will reassemble all the packets into the original request or response, so that the message arrives at the destination as quick as possible, which would not be possible if we sent the website simply as one big chunk. So that would be like trying to go through dense traffic with like the biggest bus that you can imagine. So not a good idea. Now, as the second part, the job of the IP protocol is to actually send and route all of these packets through the internet. So it ensures that all of them arrive at the destination that they should go, using IP addresses on each packet. And again, this is just a very broad overview of what really happens behind the scenes of the web, because that is actually way too much information than you actually need in order to become a great backend developer. But I hope that you still found this information useful and interesting, and also not all too confusing. Now, in the next video, we will then actually do some HTTP requests so that you become a bit more familiar with the protocol.